Hey y'all, welcome back to Black Woman Fly. This is where we rise above the noise and shadow stereotypes. I'm Jaleisha Jones, author, advocate, and your personal guide to unapologetic authenticity. If you want a safe space where you can heal, grow, and learn from our experiences as women and men, if you're watching this is where you want to be. So let's tap in, okay? Let's tap into our flyness. I'm going to dive right into the topic. I want to talk about Kendrick Lamar, okay? I want to talk about Kendrick Lamar. Side note, I am a fan. I am biased. I am biased as heck, but I am a fan. But I want to come from a spiritual place with this topic. He recently did a Harper's Bazaar interview that was released on Monday, I believe. And in that, he really talked about his spirituality. He did an interview that was interviewed by SZA, and he talked about his spirituality. He talked about God. He talked about, his femininity and his masculinity. And he also talked briefly about what not like us means to him. And I really wanted this to be about toxic masculinity and vulnerability in hip hop, predominantly male hip hop, and how what Kendrick is doing or where he's growing and where his music is probably going to be leading to is going to shift into a new positive aspect of hip hop that I don't think we've seen or that we've experienced on a mainstream level, and I am excited for it. So first of all, let me just let you guys know, what is toxic masculinity. It's pretty much what hip hop is. It's pretty much how black boys or black men have been raised. Toxic masculinity makes you believe, and really how patriarchy, the entire world, is built upon. Toxic masculinity is this viewpoint on that to be a man, you have to be hard, you have to be, very much aggressive, you have to be non-feeling, you have to be sometimes a whore, you have to be out here sleeping with everybody, you have to disrespect women, you have to, in a way, be very misogynistic. It is all about what serves you the best. And we've been taught that by the world, because the world believes that men are supposed to be hard, men are supposed to be non-feeling, men who do have feelings or who are sensitive or are in touch with their emotions are weak or are gay or just are, this is what society tells us. And especially in the black community, a lot of us have grown up without fathers, and those who do have fathers in the household, those fathers were probably strict, those fathers were probably really hard on them, those fathers had very much high expectations of what a man is supposed to be like, and that's because of how they were brought up. And it's just a generational cycle of trauma, of pain. And what you find is that grown men grow up either not knowing how to be in touch with their feelings, how to be in touch with their emotions, and not knowing exactly what it takes to be a man. So in the case of, and actually Kendrick Lamar kind of talked about this in the article, in the interview, because in the case of Kendrick Lamar, he grew up with both his parents in the household. He grew up in Compton, but his dad was very malicious. His dad was very hard on him. His dad was very much like, you don't show your feelings, you don't express yourself. And because he saw his father that way, he adopted those traits, and he probably adopted those traits even into his dating relationships, even to his adulthood, and how he dealt with women. I'm assuming, I'm making assumptions, and how he just went throughout life and what he believed how a man was supposed to act. And through his own therapy, his own healing journey, he has come to understand that there is power, there's strength in his vulnerability. And that is part of the feminine energy. Now, let me just say this. We all have masculine and feminine energies. Okay, I'm spiritual, so we're finna dive into this. We all have masculine and feminine energies, men and women. We all do. A lot of women, and I'm speaking for myself, operate from wounded masculine energy, because a lot of us come from spaces where we have to be independent, we have to be the provider, we have to be the mother and the father. And so we are operating from a space where we are masculine, we're hard. The world expects us to be strong. The world expects us to take on everything. And so we don't have a soft space where we can relax. We can really own into our feelings. We can really just let life flow, because we are expected to do so much. So we're in our wounded masculine, versus when we're in our wounded masculine, we sometimes align or attract to a lot of men who are in their wounded feminine, which they operate from a space. They're very much in tune with their feelings, but they're like, I want to say they're females, but they're more so in the space where they're beta men. They are not leaders. They're not assertive. So they don't even have balance. They're not even in tune with their masculine. They're too far deep into their feminine that they can't even take the assertiveness. They don't know how to be providers and be protectors and be leaders. And they let the women lead. That let the women take control. But the bad part about it is that they have a lot of misogyny against women because they don't want women to take control. They actually want to be in control, but they don't know how to because they have not tapped into their masculine. They have not healed their feminine energy. They have not healed the wounded feminine to be intact with their masculine energy. And in the interview with Kendrick Lamar, he says he has to balance his masculine and his feminine. And he used an example that he has to be in his feminine if he's going to talk to a woman, if he's going to sit down and talk to a woman, or even to communicate to anyone, especially his career and his music. He has to be in his feminine energy to be able to communicate in an effective way that is authentic to him that he can share to other people that they can understand. And so it's not just in the space for men to understand me. It's for women to understand me. It's for children to understand me. That's feminine energy. When you can be in a space of emotional awareness, emotional vulnerability, emotional maturity, that you can effectively communicate how you're feeling, your pains, your wounds, your scars, and also come from a loving space where it's not you're trying to cause and inflict harm onto others. You're coming from your heart space. Your heart is opening up. You're coming in from a nurturing space, a motherly space, a fatherly space. That is feminine energy. And so he says he has to tap into his feminine energy to do what he does. He's embracing that he is actually quite soft-spoken. He's embracing that he's not macho man. He is very much soft-spoken. But what we should also see is that from this past battle that he had with Drake, he is not above whooping ass. He's not above whooping ass. Okay, so that masculinity will tap in. When you saw how Drake came after the mother, his children, and his children, he went full force. He whooped that ass, and that's the masculinity coming out. That's the protector. That's the provider. He's going to go hard for his. He's going to stand 10 toes down in business. But at the same time, even when you read the interview from Harper Bazaar, he says he believes in love and war. So he believes that there should be love in all things. But there comes a time and place you got to do what you got to do. If somebody shows up and steps out of line, that doesn't mean just because I'm operating from my love space, I'm not going to whoop that ass. I'm getting sidetracked. In the space of vulnerability, you can cause a shift because men are taught to be so hard, to be non-loving, and because they're not really tapped with their emotions, they're actually highly emotional beings. I know women are known to be emotional. We are, but men are really, really emotional. When you see men that are online that's arguing with women in comments and on social media, or you see men who are always gossiping on these podcasts, they always talking about what women need to do or what they're not doing, and they always have an opinion on something. These are emotional men. These are emotional men. Some of them are betas, but these are emotional men who are not tapped into their true masculinity and their true femininity to be balanced. If men were truly tapped into emotional maturity, they would be able to not just see their own faults and their own mistakes, but then they can also see their perspective through someone else and why another person chooses to move the way that they do. They can hold space. They can be forgiving. They can be loving. They can feel that they are not less of a man for being vulnerable, for sharing their fears, their worries, sharing their pain. They can feel that they're not less of a man for embracing those sore spots, those things that they would like to forget that happened to them or that they've experienced. They cannot feel less of a man because they're not like their peers. They're not like the other men around them because they're choosing to do something differently. They're choosing not to walk the same path as everybody else. They're choosing to dive deeper into learning about themselves and discovering why they feel the way they do or why they have acted the way they've done. When a man operates in his vulnerability, it is his strength. Vulnerability is a strength because that means that you actually have built the awareness, or you've gained the awareness to not only understand yourself, but you can also understand the person in front of you, the person next to you, the person across from you. And that was another thing that Kendrick Lamar said in his interview. One of the things that he's learned over these last few years is to gain perspective of the person that's sitting across from him. And I think this speaks so poignantly with the battle that he had with Drake, because he read Drake to a T. He read Drake to a T. He peeled back the layers on Drake. And you can only come from that space if you've done some type of internal work on yourself, that you're not coming from a space of superficial, what's on the surface. You're coming from something deeper. You're talking about who a person really is at their core. Their insecurities, their fears, their worries, their triggers. He was coming from a place of awareness, of maturity. And that's a scary place when somebody can read you like that, and you have not dealt with yourself, you have not faced yourself yet. That is a rude awakening. There's a rude awakening. So that's why it's a strength. It can be used for wellness, or it can be used for detrimental. But going back to the basis of why I think this is great for hip hop is because hip hop has always been misogynistic. Hip hop has always been a space where we downgrade Black women. We look at women as just whores or sluts, or things of objects. We look at them as less than. And this is from the men perspective. We look at women as they are inferior to us. We look at women as a notch on the belt. And then we also have high expectations of women. I don't want a woman who has a high body count. I don't want a woman who has been with X, Y, and Z. But on the other side of it, you're sleeping with everybody. You have no self-control. You are misogynistic. You are controlling. You are manipulative. Like, these are the characteristics of hip hop. There's also abuse in hip hop, not just sexual abuse, but there's domestic violence situations in hip hop that they glorify this, beating on women, abusing women mentally, emotionally. It's just trash. It's been trash. It's always been this way for as long back as I can remember. I remember as a kid, I loved Tupac because he was doing "Keep Your Head Up" and "Brenda's Got a Baby," and this was the only message I was hearing as a kid, where when a rapper, a Black man, was praising a Black woman. He was praising the Black women in the community. That was astounding to me. We don't see that a lot. And if there are rappers who are showing love to Black women, we don't see them on a mainstream level. So for where Kendrick is going, it seems to me that he is moving in a space where he's aligning with his authentic self, where he is fully okay talking about his femininity. He's fully okay talking about his masculinity. He's fully okay with just being him. And I've seen how he's been moving. Harper Bazaar is a women's fashion magazine. It's his first interview since he got out of the battle with Drake. His first time talking with anyone. He spoke with SZA, a Black woman. And before that, I think a few days before that, he shouted out Doechii on her project, which is absolutely amazing. Her project is amazing. He is moving in a way which to me makes me feel like maybe his next project is not going to be predominantly about women, but I think he's going to shift the idea of what masculinity is in hip hop, because he has such a big microphone at this moment. The stage is his, the biggest platform in the world as far as in hip hop. He's about to do the Super Bowl in a few months. I know he's probably coming out with an album soon. There's going to be too many eyes on him. And right now you have a lot of kids that are watching him. And as much as we want to say that it's not these rappers or these entertainment people, their responsibility to raise our children, which it is not, the youth is influenced by what they see, what they hear. The youth is influenced by music. The youth is influenced by games, by movies, by what's popular. Because if they're going to school and their peers are talking about it, their peers are doing it, it's on TikTok, they're influenced. So when you have someone who has all eyes on him and he's at a space where he's at peace with himself, he's confident within himself and embracing himself, and he's an artist, he's going to have these kids or have a different perspective of what a masculine man is supposed to be. A masculine man is a loving man. He comes from a space of love. He comes from a space of being nurturing to a woman, especially a woman he cares for, nurturing to his children. A masculine man is a powerful man. He leads, but he leads with integrity. He leads with honesty. He leads with morals. And it's kind of aligns with what Kendrick was saying in the interview of what type of man he represents. it is possible to come from a space of coming from the hood, coming from the streets, having a lot of trauma be placed upon you, and still find the way to face yourself and coming out on the other side to be truly an empathetic, truly loving, truly inspiring, empowering individual. And I think Kendrick Lamar is not our savior. He's not here to save any of us. He's made that clear in Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. He's not here to save us. But it only takes a drop of something or a seed of something for something to be planted. So we never know how, of him showing up in his truth, how that's going to affect the next artist and make the next artist feel that it's okay for them to be in their truth, and the next artist and the next artist. If his music, if he sells whatever he sells when this comes out, if it just is so popular, or if it's just the masses are eating what he has to say up, the industry is going to shift because of it. It just will. And so I love that he has all this attention on him, and he has the capability of showing a different way of masculinity. He is not going to save he's not going to save the misogynistic views in hip hop, and he's not going to be the one that's, I'm striking all this down. No. But it's a reason that he's been put in this position at this very moment. Nothing that happens by coincidence. I personally believe that the battle between him and Drake was a spiritual warfare. And I believe it was supposed to happen. It was divine to happen. It was meant to happen. And for him to have this voice now, and him have this platform, he's very intentional. He knows all eyes are on him. He knows the culture is watching him. And he's going to stand up in his integrity. And because of that, that gives room for other people, other artists, to be able to stand up in their integrity as well. And to show that it doesn't have to be the way it's always been. You don't have to degrade women. You don't have to be misogynistic. You don't have to feel like you have to be hard. You don't have to feel like you have to be a certain type of man to be accepted in hip hop, or to be accepted in the Black community. I feel that him just being who he is going to create a wave shift, because people are going to get uncomfortable. They already are uncomfortable. I'm seeing people make videos and talk about, oh, he's feminine. Oh, he's soft. That man ain't soft. That man ain't soft. He ain't nothing to be played with, which y'all should see that. And the industry does see that. You see, the industry is not going to come out against Kendrick Lamar. The other rappers in the industry, they're not going to put out no song against him. They're not going to put their name on nothing, because that man ain't nothing to be played with. He just whooped that boy's ass. Okay, he just whooped his ass. They seen that he is not to be played with, but they don't understand also how he is really showing love to Black women. They don't understand how he is talking about his feminine side of him tapping into his masculine, feminine energy. They don't get that because they have not tapped into that yet. They don't understand it. So when you see something that you don't understand, a lot of people ridicule you. A lot of people hate on you because they're afraid to face themselves. Kendrick Lamar is moving in a way where he's moving with the God of his understanding, and he's moving in the divine order. And when you move in divine order, it is going to cause a ripple effect, because people around you cannot deal, because they have not dealt with their stuff yet. They have not faced themselves yet. He's going to move according to what he wants to do. But I'm so excited for it. I'm really excited for the album. I'm just so excited for his path. I am watching God move. I'm watching God move, because he's put this microphone in front of Kendrick Lamar and said, now it's your time. What you got to say? What do you want to share? And the kids are listening. The teenagers are listening. Our generation, millennials, are listening. Older people are listening. We're all listening. The haters are listening. Everybody's listening. The world is listening. And because he has his microphone, it's going to help shift some things in hip hop. He's not the end all be all, but he has this microphone for a reason. And I think good things are going to come. Or it could be many years down the line. It could take a while, but there's a reason, and a shift is happening. And if you haven't got on the boat yet, you need to get your ass on the boat, because it's here. The shift in hip hop is happening. Okay, the shift in hip hop is happening, and I'm excited for it. that's all I gotta say. I done said a whole bunch. If you resonate with this video, please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. I'll see you guys soon. Go Kendrick Lamar. I'm on your team. Bye.